Welcome to a new year in Noir Alley. I'm Eddie Muller, your dedicated docent of the dark. Now, this fresh calendar year starts with perhaps the oddest picture we've shown so far. It's certainly the longest, clocking in at a full 2 hours. So if you're watching me on playback, you may be in for an abrupt ending. The typical feature in 1951 ran about 90 minutes, but this being a Howard Hughes production, normal rules do not apply. It's his kind of woman. And it's also unusual because it's a parody of itself, of the whole noir movement, really. Not that it started out that way. When Robert Mitchum was assigned this picture, he figured it was one more in a series of RKO crime dramas in which the tall dog is set upon by a gaggle of gangsters and one dangerous dame. The tall dog is what Mitchum called himself. As the studio's biggest star, Howard Hughes kept his tall dog on a relatively short leash. According to Mitchum, the leash was just long enough that if I tried to jump the fence, I'd hang myself. For Hughes, Mitchum was the embodiment of virile masculinity, what Hughes wished he could be. And by pairing him with Jane Russell, Hughes's personally engineered bombshell, the Texas millionaire was giving America his vision of ideal sexual chemistry. He planned to hype the film by erecting a billboard of the two stars over Wilshire Boulevard that spouted fireworks and proclaimed his co-stars the hottest combination to ever hit the screen. Well, not to discount their obvious sex appeal, but Mitchum and Russell's genuine chemistry was as friends, not lovers. Now, they may have seemed combustible together on screen, but it was all an act, a buddy act, in fact. Mitchum and Russell were sexy and laconic mirror images of each other, both displaying a world-weary and wisecracking attitude that's as hip today as when they invented it 68 years ago. Mitchum nicknamed Russell Hard John, mainly for her rigid religious beliefs, which the actor always teased her about, especially given the way she was exploited in movies. And when a reporter once dared question the actress's piety, she told him, "Hey, Christians can have big breasts too." Well, Mitchum and director John Farrow had already made one film together for RKO, Where Danger Lives, released the previous year. In that one, Mitchum gets mixed up with, spoiler alert, a batty and buxom brunette, played by Faith Demurg, another Hughes discovery. Farrow and Mitchum got on famously, as both relished long, booze-fueled bull-slinging sessions. Farrow signed on for another film with Mitchum, expecting the drinking and gabbing to continue while they cranked out a straightforward adventure thriller. Well, things did not go as planned, however. You can put part of the blame on co-writers Frank Fenton and Jack Leonard, who from the start were writing a send-up of the dark crime movies that had become ubiquitous in Hollywood, especially at RKO. The joker up their sleeves was a character they dropped into the mix named Mark Cardigan, a vainglorious Shakespearean actor played uproariously by Vincent Price. Price's portrayal was a touchstone in his career, setting the stage for many ham-on-rye performances to come.
Now might I drink hot blood and do such bitter business the earth would quake to look upon.
Hamlet again.
Mark, this is no time for histrionics. What fools ye mortals be.
Hughes loved this character and demanded that Price's part be expanded, forcing script changes, extending the shooting schedule, and diminishing Jane Russell's role in the third act. Not having much of a sense of humor to begin with, Farrow refused to make these changes. He delivered what he considered a finished film and walked away. Well, meanwhile, over in Sid Rogel's B Unit, production had wrapped on a picture everyone was raving about, The Narrow Margin. Brilliantly directed by Richard Fleischer and featuring breakthrough performances by Charles McGraw and Marie Windsor, everyone at RKO knew it was something special, including, amazingly, Howard Hughes. He liked it so much he ended up making Dick Fleischer an unexpected and wholly unwanted offer. He'd let Fleischer shoot The Narrow Margin again, from scratch, with $1 million budget, only this time with the studio's two biggest stars, Robert Mitchum and Jane Russell. All he had to do to make the leap to A-picture status was finish another film that wasn't quite there yet. 2 weeks of work, tops. Well, Fleischer wanted no part of it. He was proud of the narrow margin and wanted it released as he'd made it. So, as was his wont, Hughes held the narrow margin hostage. If Fleischer and that film's screenwriter, Earl Felton, didn't salvage this other picture, Hughes might never release the narrow margin in its original form. So Fleischer couldn't refuse. The film he was brought on board to rescue, of course, was His Kind of Woman. And the story of that salvage job is the stuff of Hollywood legend, which I will share with you on the back end. Right now, let's plunge into this singular specimen of crime, noir, comedy, musical, whatever the hell it is. It's His Kind of Woman.